You got a chance to hear from President Volodymyr Zelenskiy today. Did he convince you on the United States still sending more weapons and aid to Ukraine?
I think he did a really good job. I think President Zelensky really explained what he needs. He clearly needs air defense. And he's explained how difficult it is. And I think if everybody I know of wants to make sure Ukraine wins, it's horrible what Russia has done to the Ukrainian people. But the person that's not doing their job is Joe Biden. He's not at the table. He knows what has to be done. We've been very clear in the Senate that we are not going to continue to do this if we don't, not going to work on Ukraine's border and not work on America's border. We're going to have to secure a border if we want to do more funding for Ukraine. It's real simple. And the president hasn't engaged. He hasn't come to the table. He doesn't act like it's an issue. So the way I look at it, he can give a nice press conference, but he's not being serious about wanting to help the Ukrainian people because he knows what it's going to take. It's going to take real border security where we see the number of people coming across our border and staying, dropping. It's going to have to go back to the numbers when President Trump was president. Because Joe Biden has decided to have an open border, and we're not going to continue to do that.
Well, Senator, our reporting says that the White House is in fact open to tightening asylum law, might be open to enhancing the deportation process. And the language that we hear from Senators Lankford and Murphy, the R and the D leading these negotiations, while I realize we're not on the verge of a breakthrough here, it does sound like that Democrats are moving closer to Republicans on this. Dick Durbin, who we look forward to talking with at more length, just got back from Guatemala saying something needs to be done. Are you not encouraged by comments like that from Democrats, including the White House?
No, talk's cheap. There's only one person that can get this done. It's not somebody sitting in the Senate. It's going to be Joe Biden. When he makes a decision that the border will be secure and we're going to drop the number of people coming across our border and stay in our country, and he's committed to taking the numbers back to what it was when he became president, then he's going to get a deal. If he doesn't, he's not going to get a deal. It's real simple. The numbers have got to go back to where it was when he became president, or there will not be a deal. We've been clear for a long. So when anybody that wants to talk and say, "Oh, we're getting closer," they're having conversations. We could have said that 6 weeks ago. The exact same thing.
Well, I don't think he said that they're getting closer. Our reporting says that he's in fact open to a deal on asylum law and an enhanced deportation process, and maybe even winding down the parole system. Those aren't good signs to you?
I think it's all great, but the bottom line is going to have to be we're going to have real numbers that come down. Look,
okay.
The existing laws we have under Trump, the border was secure. So it's not the laws. There's clearly things we can improve in the laws. We have a lawless administration that has opened our border, right? So the only way we can pass another law that doesn't get enforced, right? Or we can say I've supported Ukraine aid in the past. Now I have a lot of questions, but I've supported Ukraine aid. I'm just telling you, if the White House wants to get this done, then they ought to say I will commit to reduce the number of people coming across our border and staying here. Until they say that, there's no deal.
Well, the president talked about also Republicans in Congress when he was standing next to President Zelensky. Take a listen to what he had to say in that press conference moments ago.
Holding Ukraine funding hostage in the attempt to force through an extreme Republican partisan agenda on the border is not how it works.
You say you support Ukraine but by not allowing this aid through, Senator Scott. Are you holding it hostage, as the president says?
Well, I'm very clear. We're going to secure a border. Director Wray of the FBI has testified twice in the last month saying we have terror cells across our country because of an open border. The bottom line, I will not support, and I think most Republican senators are not going to support Ukraine aid if we don't have a commitment that the number of people coming across our southern border and staying drops to where it was when Trump was president. It's real clear. We're going to get our border secure, or there will not be Ukraine aid. And I've supported Ukraine aid, but this is not going to happen. We're not going to spend money to worry about Ukraine's border, which I feel my heart goes out to the people of Ukraine, but also I represent Americans. I do not want terror cells.
But it's not just the people of Ukraine. Are you concerned with? But are you concerned of the message this sends to dictators like President Vladimir Putin?
Absolutely. I don't know why Biden doesn't take this seriously. President Biden has been told for weeks that we have to secure our border and has not engaged. It's up to one person, the President of the United States. If he cares about the Ukraine aid, then he's going to secure a border. If he doesn't, which it doesn't appear he does, we will not have a deal. And by the way, he's waited until the last week we're here before we go on recess. We're here for just this week. The House finishes this week. We finish this week. Everybody has known the Senate calendar. So President Biden has not been serious about getting aid for Ukraine.
They seem pretty serious about it in that conversation hosting President Zelensky at the White House. Senator, is there a chance you're going to work overtime beyond this week, maybe into the weekend, to generate a product?
I clearly will. Yeah, I will clearly work weekends. I mean, like I don't understand why we don't work more weekends. I mean, we're not even doing spending bills. If you look at the issues that we're dealing with, we're not solving the issues up here. We ought to stay and finish our budget. We're not even talking about the budget. And we've got a continuing resolution that part of it ends up in January and February. We're not even having conversations about that. I think we ought to stay and get our job done.
Senator Scott, you have a point. Today in the House, they were talking about whether or not schools should have chocolate milk or not. Meanwhile, there's very serious issues, but you say Biden's not engaged. The president requested this supplemental request that included strengthening border security months ago. This was after Zelensky's visit in September.
Well, it wasn't border security. It was money for sanctuary cities. There was nothing about securing the border. Remember, the border was secure when the president got in office. He has made the decision to open the border. When he makes a commitment that the number of people come across our border and staying goes down, then we'll get this done. He has not made that commitment.